You are listening to the Tricorder Transmissions, episode 22. And now, here are Craig and Jeff.
Welcome back to the Tricorder Transmissions. We're here again with another episode. As always, we are your hosts, Jeff Hewlett.
And Craig Cohen.
And today we are going to be talking about an episode we've waited a long time to talk about, Space Seed.
Yes, probably one of the most popular Star Trek episodes.
Yeah, and one of the only ones to get a direct sequel made to it as a movie. Pretty cool stuff. So we are, because of this, the importance of this episode, as we've done with a couple of episodes already prior to this, we are going to be doing an extended discussion, which we plan to launch on, I think, the Wednesday following this episode. So this episode is going to launch on the 29th of December.
So what, is that New Year's Day?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it
wow.
looks like New Year's Day. I'll throw that up for everybody to listen to. So that will technically be the first episode of Tricorder Transmissions in 2014.
Well, I guess I know what I'm doing on New Year's Eve now. I guess we're putting that episode together.
We can always put it together a little ahead of time, just in case.
Yeah. But I think the cool thing about that supplemental episode will be a lot of the stuff that we get to talk about that isn't directly sort of shown or referenced on the episode of Space Seed. So this is actually a really cool opportunity for us to talk about the episode itself and then sort of talk about the fallout from that episode.
Yeah, exactly. So this is going to give us a chance to focus on our scene-specific commentary, as we always do, and not diverge too much into what happens after this. So I think it's going to give us an opportunity to really focus heavily on the episode, not spend too much time going off topic, going off the rails, if you will.
Sure, but I'm sure we'll find a way to do that anyway.
Oh, I guarantee it. And so we are going to have a special guest with us for this special commentary episode, as we always do for the extended episode. So our friend of the show and big-time Star Trek fan, Chris Ritzer, will be with us. We're looking forward to that.
Yes.
And so to pave the way to our extended episode, we'll go ahead and get started with Space Seed itself. Ready to go, Mr. Cohen?
I am. I guess we're going to go over the episode details.
Yes, why not? So, the air dates. The initial airing of Space Seed was February 16th of 1967, and the remaster was November the 18th of 2006.
All right, great. And I have a real quick write-up from NBC's press release issued on January 26th, 1967. Ricardo Montalban guest stars as the survivor of a tyrannical super race in Space Seed, a drama in which Captain Kirk and his crew are unwitting accomplices to an attempt to seize world power on NBC Television Network's color cast of Star Trek.
All right, that's a pretty cool description, and we get the color cast reference. I love it.
Yes.
All right, so we are going to get started with our commentary in 3, 2, 1. And we're back in space again.
Yes, the very familiar external shot of the Enterprise.
Yeah, we've had a couple episodes lately where we've started in other strange places. We saw the Air Force Base, and, we saw Sulu on the surface of some planet. So now we're comfortably back on the ship.
Yeah, without Sulu.
Yeah, another episode without Sulu. What the heck?
And most comically, Ensign Chekhov isn't even on the show yet.
No, he's not. And
even though in Wrath of Khan he will mention the events of this episode like he witnessed them.
Yeah, and Khan will recognize him as if he knows him. But I mean, that's easily explainable.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, he could have been an ensign somewhere else on the ship. So yeah. I mean, that's the least of our continuity worries at this point. So there's the touched up 3D rendered version of the Botany Bay.
Yeah.
Slightly different. The DY-100 class ship.
Yeah, which was actually, I think, designed before the Enterprise was. It was sort of just a throwaway design that was done, and then I guess was dug up when they were making this episode, and It's kind of an iconic ship.
It is, and according to Spock, it was built in the 1990s. So, yet another example of something that was in the future. If you were watching this when it originally aired, but it is our past.
Yes.
So we know that this actually didn't come to pass in the 1990s. But imagine, in the 60s, they might have thought, hey, 1990, we might be launching these ships into space.
Yeah. I think it's kind of neat though that they sort of established this alternate history for us, which, you're watching this now, seeing it take place in the 23rd century and saying, well, okay, this is not where our, timeline is headed.
Right.
I think it's kind of neat. It's kind of almost a cool way to protect yourself from being, like people saying, oh, that didn't happen. Now in the 60s, they didn't know that.
No.
But, I think that's always one of the funniest things with science fiction whenever they assign a date to something.
That's true. It is. You're in danger of having those date issues when the actual time and that you've selected is actually passed. But
which is actually why I thought the star date was a cool idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, definitely, because that kind of detaches it from real time.
Yeah.
So there was there was a really cool moment there in the Stinger where Kirk proved Spock wrong, Spock's original estimation wrong. I loved it.
Yeah, and then Spock says, "You like proving me wrong, don't I?" And Kirk says something to the effect of, "It's a human weakness of mine."
Yeah. Now, here's something that always stuck out to me about this episode. In this little log here, it says they've been there for an hour.
Yeah.
So the ship has been on red alert for an hour, and that damn siren's been going off for an hour. These poor people must be freaking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, is the red alert even effective?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, at that point, I think you'd probably start to, it would become, part of your normal environment.
Yep. You would think it would fade away like like a beeping sound in your house or a dripping faucet or something. You wouldn't notice it anymore.
So McCoy has pretty much informed the captain that based on their readings, there are 60 to 70 bodies on board that ship.
Yep.
But he doesn't know much more than that because there aren't really any signs of life.
Yeah, so he assumed they were some kind of alien life because their heart rates were so much lower than that of humans.
And here we get our first reference to the eugenics wars.
Yeah, and this is actually a really great exchange between so you got the logic of Spock and you got McCoy's emotional reaction. Kind of they're starting to get into a little bit of an argument there about eugenics, and then Kirk stops them.
Yeah, I kind of like McCoy basically saying, it was a extreme branch of science. It wasn't, the popular, belief of that time.
Yeah, and Spock sort of insinuates that all of mankind was cool with it, and that was, but and McCoy was kind of going back at him. So here's another interesting thing about this episode. Do you recall other times where Spock is calling over the intercom for specific crew members to report to the transportation room, the transporter room?
Not that I can think of.
So I think this was simply a mechanism for them to show the inside of MacGyver's quarters or McGiver's, whatever her name is.
As she was putting on like that smock over her uniform.
I guess she's a painter.
Okay. I didn't get that was that she was gonna paint. I thought she was like, I'm done for the day. I'm gonna go hit the hit the commissary and let my hair down.
Yeah. Well, did you notice right here? I think this was another series first in the transporter room. Did you hear McCoy was talking about how he doesn't want his atoms scattered across with the transporter? So is that a series first, or the first time he's bitched about going into the transporter? I mean, it's a famous character trait of his.
It might be. It might just be. I don't think it's something we've pointed out.
No, I don't recall pointing that out either. So here we are. We're beaming into
a very cool, ominous-looking environment, which I really love. Bay. I love everything about this production design.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, and I love that that Scotty is given the rundown on what type of ship it is. Old atomic power, and they have something called transistor units.
Yeah.
So this is 1990s technology envisioned by the 60s writers.
Yeah.
They're still going to be using transistor units in the 1990s when the ship launches.
Mm-hmm. So now they're pretty much, identifying this ship as a sleeper ship with a crew that's in suspended animation.
Yeah, and you can only see a few visible pods, but McCoy had said before that there's 60 or 70 bodies, so we have to assume the ship is much bigger than what we're seeing right now, with many more of these life pods scattered all over the place. Mm-hmm. And it's a really strange thing to say. What a handsome group of people, isn't it?
Yeah, and they actually brought in dancers and acrobats for their
physiques.
Basically their body type.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love this weird costume they have Khan dressed up in. He's almost naked.
Yeah, it's like he had gotten, trapped in the ocean by,
netting or something.
Yeah, guys that were out there clamming or something.
Yeah, he got caught a fishnet. His fishnet bodysuit. It's amazing how quickly MacGyver's is intrigued by Khan before they even get him out of the life support unit there, the cryo unit.
I mean, she is their history buff or their history expert. So I'd imagine beyond, your normal curiosity, she's got to be pretty fascinated with the idea that she might be able to talk to somebody who, was alive hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, and I love that she pegs him as from northern India.
Yeah, which is funny. In the original story, before this was really developed into a full script, his name was Harold Erickson, and he was described as a Nordic Superman.
Oh, so some sort of a descendant of Leif Erikson.
Yeah, so at some point they changed him to the much more interesting, in my opinion, Khan.
Oh, big time. And I think that, I'm sure we'll get more into Ricardo Montalban as the episode goes on, but I think looking back on this, I can't imagine this character being played by anybody else.
Yeah.
He was so good, and his accent is so perfect for this, and his appearance and his mannerisms are great. The way he does his character is insane. Really great. So Kirk is busting out. Now this is one of a couple of set pieces I'm going to point out in this episode that I think were really elaborate for the time. I mean, they did a really good job putting these things together. Even though it seems a little plain Jane, the fact that they had these doors that could open and the table slides out. But you think if these were some sort of a like sleeper units, they make them a little more comfortable than a big flat table. I mean, Khan's got to have a hell of a backache from 2 centuries of flying around on a plank.
Yeah.
And
his first words coming out of suspended animation is "how long?"
Yep.
Which kind of is an indicator that he had a feeling that he was going to be out there for a while. Yeah.
Well, it's never really clear where they were intending to go with this voyage. So, and I think Spock actually points out later on that the odds of that ship being able to get as far as it did were like 1 in 10,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, that ship was actually designed for, interplanetary travel, not, long galactic voyages. So it's amazing the power in the ship held out that long.
Yeah.
So now we're in sick bay. They've brought Khan back over, and McCoy is amazed at the recuperative power of Khan. So is this the thing they built on for the enhanced Khan in the JJ universe? Who knows?
It seems like they definitely sort of took that line and ran with it, possibly a little too far.
Yeah. So we 12 of the units have malfunctioned. So we've lost 12 Khan's people, 72 alive. So and Kirk is pontificating on these people from the 1990s, and Spock is actually kind of he's given a little bit of a rundown on there's some violent history back in that time, and here's a little speech about that ship being nuclear powered engines was designed for interplanetary star, and the odds of it surviving are 10,000 to 1 of making it to another star system, and no record of the trip. So if it was some sort of a deep space exploration of incredible odds, there's no record of it in Earth's spaceship logs.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
Yeah. And Kirk pointed out that the Botany Bay was a prison colony in Australia. And the funny thing is, possibly in Star Trek's timeline, that's the truth. But, popular belief holds that Botany Bay is one of Australia's first penal colonies. But in fact, when they landed there, it was discovered to be unsuitable to be colonized. So they actually made their way to what would be the first settlement, Port Jackson.
Very interesting.
But that's not to say in the Star Trek universe that they landed and Botany Bay was completely, cool and they were able to inhabit it.
True. Well, we know the Star Trek universe of our time is very different because Spock just said that in that time period in the early 90s, the Earth was on the verge of a dark age and entire civilizations were being bombed out of existence. So we know that hasn't happened in our lifetime. So, the Star Trek universe, although seemingly the same as ours, is actually quite different historically.
Yeah.
So interesting.
I still think, I said earlier, I thought that was sort of a gutsy choice because I don't think anybody writing this show in the mid 60s, wanted to really entertain the idea that by the time, the 90s rolled around 30 years later that, the world would be on the brink of destruction.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, could you imagine writing that kind of a doom and gloom scenario? But it's funny now, back then, it seemed like there was a lot of more hopeful plots going on. And now when you look at movies and TV shows today in the era that we're living in 2013 and beyond, it seems like all of our movies and shows seem very dismal. The outlooks are always dismal, like very dystopian futures.
Yeah.
So hopefully maybe that our futures won't wind up as bad as our current movies make them out to be.
Yeah.
But so McCoy has just given us a little bit of a rundown on Khan's physical prowess. So his body is much more efficient. His heart valves are much more efficient. And he estimates that Khan could lift both Kirk and McCoy with one arm. Yeah. So Khan is pretty enhanced.
Yes. And I guess we can talk about Ricardo Montalban real quick now. He had a 7-decade career, which is pretty amazing. He was a radio, television, theater, and film actor. In addition to Space Seed, I guess a lot of people that, are listening to this might know him or remember him from Fantasy Island in the late 70s or the Spy Kids films, which I thought, was a pretty cool role for him. And he died back in 2009 at the ripe old age of 88.
Wow. Well, he had a heck of a great run, celebrity run, and he had a good long life. He's a very fondly remembered, and we are coming up on one of his iconic scenes in this episode. And I find this actually very interesting. The way that, Khan is just waking up and a little shaky there. And he's going to climb out of bed and do some strange looking stretches.
Yeah, it's almost looks like maybe Tai Chi.
Yeah, some sort of. Now,
it's breathing coupled with the stretching.
Yeah, now while he's doing this stretching, he is alerted to McCoy's presence by McCoy getting on the intercom. See, now he hears McCoy in the other room and is looking for, he sees the knives there. He's going to grab a hold of a knife, and leading up to this great exchange between McCoy and Khan.
Yeah, it's probably McCoy's finest badass moment of the entire series, including the movies.
Without a doubt. And there's a strange bit of dialogue in here, though, and I'm just going to assume that it's I don't want to ruin this moment, so I'll hold it off until the moment actually comes. There's the knife to the throat. Now we're getting our actual first taste of the conscious Khan. Either choke me or cut my throat. Make up your mind. Wow. And Khan's English, I thought I dreamed hearing it, although he just clearly heard McCoy in the other room.
Oh.
I'm sure that's some sort of a ploy because he wants McCoy to believe that he was still asleep.
Yeah.
And he didn't actually hear anything, but that stuck out to me a little odd. And here's the most effective if you would cut the carotid artery just under the left ear. So McCoy is pretty much telling Khan, go ahead and slice my throat. Here's the best way to go about doing it, so I'll die the quickest. Pretty hardcore.
Oh, totally.
Absolutely. And Max makes Khan respect him. Khan's, I like a brave man. So Khan respects McCoy, and McCoy just grabs the knife right out of his hand. No reaction whatsoever. No anger. No calling security.
Yeah.
No nothing. Pretty cool. Yeah, I think that speaks volumes to McCoy's overall character.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So Khan's been sleeping for 2 centuries.
Yeah.
Quite a
This
long
episode
time.
was written by series producer Gene L. Kuhn and Carrie Wilbur, who also wrote earlier in his career for Lost in Space. So it's kind of interesting that he, had a tenure on both shows. And although he wasn't involved with Star Trek after this, he really contributed, a lot to the show's legacy and left a huge mark, which a lot of the other writers probably can't say they did.
Definitely true. Did you notice that the intercom button in sickbay has one button underneath it, and when you press it, it calls the bridge?
Oh, wow, no.
How would you call anybody else? Does it just call the bridge? That's all? It's like a bat phone?
That's funny.
So I was like, wait a minute. So you would think there's no operator or anything. So now, so we've got Kirk and Khan are having their first interaction. Khan was asking what the ship's heading was, and Kirk gave him an answer that makes perfect sense to anybody living in Kirk's time, but would completely confound Khan, and he looks visibly confused by it.
Yeah. And the interesting thing here is Kirk sort of assumes, ultimately incorrectly, that Khan and his people are peaceful.
Yeah, that's interesting. And McCoy doesn't even
alert
mention
him to the fact that he almost killed him.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that that's something he would report to Kirk immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the fatigued act.
Yeah. Khan not as good of an actor as Ricardo Montalban.
So Kirk is going to press on with his questioning, but and we'll see Kirk gets very aggressive with his questioning of Khan in a later scene, which is very one must wonder.
And here is a major slip up on Kirk's part.
I know. I was going to mention this. I can't understand.
He hands Khan the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, why would you? Isn't there some regulations that would prevent him from allowing, strangers or non-authorized personnel to read through the ships? Maybe he just assumed Khan wouldn't understand any of it.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, I mean, 2 centuries worth of technology evolutions, you would think that Khan probably wouldn't be able to make heads or tails of it, but he understands enough of it to get done what he wants to get done.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's interesting that all of the information is stored on like information discs.
Yeah, I love those little record tapes.
Yeah.
And things. So they just drop those little plastic squares into those little holes. And Spock is a little concerned about the amount of library record tapes he's consuming down there. He's making a lot of use of those. So, I don't know. I think that's probably one of the if not the biggest slip up in the whole episode. Although there are many slip ups. So Spock has now pegged 1993 as the year where the Supermen seized power in 40 nations. So 1993, the year after I graduated high school.
Yeah, me too.
Amazing. And he's blaming it on this because the scientists overlooked the fact that the superior abilities of the Supermen would breed this superior ambition. And it's interesting the theory that Spock comes up with here about why Earth's authorities would cover up the missing 80 or 90 of the Supermen that had vanished after the war was over.
Okay.
And because Kirk is saying this fact isn't in the history text that they disappeared, but Spock says, "Hey, would you reveal that to all of these war-torn nations that 80 of these Napoleons might still be alive somewhere?"
Yeah.
And that really rings kind of true because I think our government probably does the same exact things all the time, and we would never know.
Yes. So now we have first real encounter between MacGyvers and Khan.
Mm-hmm.
This is actress Madeline Roach, or Rue, who actually would go on to appear on an episode of Fantasy Island with Ricardo Montalban. And unfortunately, in the 70s, she was diagnosed with MS and had to stop working in 1985 when she was confined to a wheelchair. And she died in 2003 at the age of 68.
Wow, that's a shame. I hate to hear about anybody getting MS. It's a terrible affliction.
But left behind a very cool legacy.
Now...
And we're talking about her right now, which is something a lot of people can't say.
That is pretty cool. Now, I find the changes that Khan makes to her hair aren't very noticeable.
Yeah, he doesn't really let it down.
No, I think maybe he tried to, but there's too many damn pins in there.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey. But this is a pretty cool moment for Khan because he's already working an angle.
Yeah, I think that was really the main point of this exercise was not really to... If her hair was down, he would have put it up. It was more just the start of his seduction.
Yeah, he knew that she had a weakness for him, and it was something that he needs to exploit in order to... He needs somebody in the crew on his side, to help him revive his people and to achieve his goal, which he has yet to say.
Yeah. But
he sees in her the first person that he could manipulate as he needs to.
Uh-huh.
So pretty interesting, and he grabs her arm here and gives her he's glad that she was there, and he wants her to come back again. Almost hypnotic.
Yes.
Because he knows that she respects his commanding way. So here we are, full dress uniforms again for everybody but Uhura.
Well, that is interesting. Yeah, I guess communications officers didn't get them.
No, I guess not. Well, they obviously have red ones because Scotty's wearing one, but I guess they just don't have female red.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, but look at McCoy's got 4 little triangles. Looks like the letter H's are in there. What that means? And Kirk's got a bunch of... I'd love to do a comparison between the decorations on Kirk's dress uniform in this episode and his dress uniform from Court Martial to see if the configuration is the same.
Yeah. Both episodes directed by series sort of regular Mark Daniels, who directed a total of 15 episodes.
Oh, that's 15 out of 79. That's a good chunk. So here we go again, and she's changed her hair because he had made that remark. So obviously to him, she's kind of falling under his sway. And now he's onto her even more because she paints pictures of powerful men from the past. And he's about to discover her newest work is him. Dun dun dun.
And the cover is made from like the same material as their bed sheets.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that she would cover that up because it would probably still be wet.
Yeah.
And it might get smudged, but
although who knows, they might not be using oil-based paints or
futuristic paint.
Yeah.
They look kind of like watercolors actually. And there was a great Khan line, such men dare take what they want. I'm going to say Khan has some serious game and maybe even more than Kirk.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he is suave, dude. And he's got a gold scrunchie in his hair. Now, where did he get those clothes?
McCoy's wardrobe?
Maybe, because they put him in a red shirt later.
Yeah.
They got to find him some formal clothes. Where can we find a piece of formal wear for this guy that exposes his chest? So now this scene at this dinner table, I always felt that Kirk and Spock were really aggressive, almost unnecessarily aggressive in their questioning of Khan.
Yeah, you almost think that they're starting to realize that they might have, made the wrong assumptions, or you might have dealt with him the wrong way when they brought him on board the ship.
Yeah, maybe. But I have watching this episode as many times as I have, I've come to these conclusions in my head. I always try to second guess what they do on the episodes, and I keep thinking to myself, if Kirk and Spock know how dangerous this dude is, I mean, they're en route to a starbase. Why don't they just placate this guy and make up some bogus story about, they don't have the technology to wake everybody up until they get to the starbase, and then when they get to the starbase, just have security there, take Khan into custody, done with it.
Yeah. I guess they're giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I guess, but I mean, the benefit of the doubt, but they're still antagonizing the crap out of him, by Spock talking about all the petty dictators, which is essentially, he would fall into that category, and,
It's kind of great how Khan points out the tactician that Kirk is, letting his second in command sort of lead the questioning while, Kirk's able to sit back and sort of objectively look, observe things.
It was a brilliant observation on his part, because, until he said something, I didn't really even think about it. The first time I was watching this episode, I just thought that Spock was a little hot under the collar. But there was some strategy to it. Now Khan's going to make his way out of the room again. And, this is kind of formal. Kirk stands up and doesn't really grant him permission, but he leaves anyway.
Yeah.
Even though he requested permission to leave. So a little look off to the camera there from Kirk, a little contemplative look. And here's another spectacularly iconic Khan scene. And this one really showcases
this is
the acting ability.
This is advanced game.
Oh my God, he totally flips the script on her.
It's very hard to pull this move off and not end up embarrassing yourself.
Oh, absolutely. But he's got the bravado to pull this off. I mean, and she just confesses that she knows exactly who he is.
Yeah.
So up until now, he felt that his identity was completely concealed. But, she's a historian, and I bet you she knew exactly who he was from the minute she laid eyes on him in that, in the sleeper ship.
Oh, sure. I mean, especially considering how, big of a figure he was.
Absolutely. And, I'm surprised that Kirk and Spock didn't recognize him immediately, too, because, I mean, they both seem very well versed in their history. And the computer does have a picture of what Khan looked like from back then.
So there was the ultimatum he laid down, stay or go, but, it has to be your choice. And he said it in such a firm manner, that you'd almost think that, most women would be like, well, you know what, I am going to leave. I don't need to be talked to like this.
And now he tells her she has to ask to stay.
Yes.
He totally flips the script around on her.
Yeah.
So to put himself in the position of control.
It's a masterclass.
Oh, absolutely. And watch this and watch this little show of aggression here with the super powered hand grip here, and pushing her right down onto her knees, almost in a worship position, placing himself kind of in a position of power over her, right?
Yeah, you almost think that Khan, if he wasn't bent on galactic, sort of conquering, he probably could have done, the lecture circuit.
Oh,
he could
absolutely.
have went from starbase to starbase and sort of done this, ultra macho, how to pick up chicks and earn their respect.
Or he could have opened up his very own island where people could come and have their relationships fixed. Yeah. That's an idea for another time. Oh, man. He tosses her down on the floor. And, how quick does she turn on Kirk and the crew?
Yeah.
So she'll do anything he asks? Mm-hmm. Why?
It almost seems like, her relationship with history, at least the way I'm seeing it, is she's really not seeing anything of value in the future and is really sort of in love with the past.
Yeah. I can see that, but God, it just seems like she's going to, I mean, she knows what he's capable of. She knows who he is and where he came from. And it just seems like she's so easily willing to condemn everybody else on the ship. Last of the tyrants to be overthrown.
Yeah, after conquering 20 or ruling 25% of the world at that point.
Yeah, that's serious.
Yeah.
So, and this is I love this scene too because Spock gets almost incredulous. Romanticism of a ruthless dictator. Kirk's humans have a streak of barbarism in them. But look at Spock's face. I love how incredulous he is. Oh, man.
There's a lot of Scotty in this episode, huh?
Yeah, he's got a hell of a lot of dialogue in this episode.
Yeah, he's sort of included in a lot of these roundtables.
Yeah, and he's he's in the room after this when they get captured, and he's got a lot of parts in this episode. So strange that they had him with such a big part and no Sulu at all.
Yeah.
So very strange.
So now he has been reduced to red shirt.
Yeah, I question why they put him in a red shirt in this episode. Did you notice, though, for the seriousness and the heaviness of this episode and the storyline, that there's a lot of interpersonal comedy between Kirk and the other crew members? There's a lot of little laughs.
Yeah.
The whole Spock thing in the beginning when they're proven wrong, and there's a couple of quips with McCoy there, and a little bit more there in the room when they're discussing who Khan is, and Spock gets incredulous. There's a lot of little humor moments there. It kind of maybe break the tension a little bit.
Yeah, they're pretty much roommates. I mean, for lack of a better word, the Enterprise is their home, and they all have their own quarters or whatnot. But they're sharing a spaceship.
Yeah, pretty much. So they're kind of Three's Company in a way. So here Kirk is antagonizing Khan even more, and now he knows for sure who Khan is, and he just keeps poking him with that stick and poking him with that stick, and Khan's been, listen, dude. You're mentally and physically inferior to me.
Yeah, and he's actually disappointed with humanity.
Yeah. I mean, who could blame him?
Yeah,
who could blame him? He's still superior. But he could reach across that table and snap Kirk's neck in a second. And Kirk is just just keeps pushing the buttons, Yeah, his questions have all been answered. And, that's a very strange exchange there. And Kirk's going to lock him into the room again.
And, yeah.
And only post one poor, balding guard outside.
Well, why would you need more? Oh.
Yeah, really. Why would you?
So we get more of this...
I love this weird...
Like the Tai Chi with the breathing.
Yeah.
And I guess he's accessing that extra strength, and he's doing what many would probably consider impossible.
Yeah, he's actually pulling a locked door open. Oh! That guy got some air. Wow, and here she is already threatening the transporter guy.
And he's got that incredulous look on his face.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Woman?
And here's is this Khan's version of
That's what I was thinking.
The nerve pinch?
Yeah.
It almost seemed like the Khan death pinch or something.
And I love how Khan already knows how to use the transporter.
Yeah.
He knows to run over there and stand on the pad.
Yeah, well, he had read the ship's technical manuals.
Yeah, it said to go and stand on the pad and stand up really straight. Otto. He's got a guy named Otto and Joaquin. The trip is over. And look at the chick in the front here is wearing the same outfit Khan was wearing.
Yeah.
The fishnet. And her name is it Kati?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep. And here we go. They're going to start to find some strange things are going on in the Enterprise.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Security here. Khan has escaped. Took them a while to figure that out. They couldn't detect that the door opened?
Well, I don't think that guy woke up either for a long time. That guy, he got some air and some distance.
Yeah, and they couldn't detect the unauthorized transporter use?
Yeah.
They've done that other times.
Is that actually, you think that, they have other times.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know when people transport on and off the ship. And he knows that. If there's, I'm sure that there needs to be some sort of authorization. You can't just walk in there and say, hey, beam me somewhere.
Is that something that you don't think MacGyver's had access to?
I mean, maybe she might have, but I don't think that. I mean, I'm sure that there has to be some sort of an alert that gets sent or a record log that has to happen when the transporter gets used. Up, and Khan has taken over engineering. The ship is his, and he's shutting off life support to the bridge. So here's another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you think that there would be an alternate way off the bridge besides the turbo lift? Wouldn't there be some sort of security hatches somewhere?
Yeah.
Or a staircase? I mean, even in our time, you can't just have an elevator in a building. There are laws saying you have to have a staircase as well, just in case the elevator is broken.
Yeah.
Or
but
there's a fire.
If there's a door leading to that, that's the main problem.
Yeah, well, if the turbo lift has some sort of a fire or something, I mean, there's got to be an alternate way out. Apparently, there isn't an alternate way off the bridge because they're stuck there. But you would think that there would be.
Yeah, and actually, one of the major additions to the bridge in Next Generation was the captain sort of had like his own little room on the bridge.
Yeah, like a ready room or something, didn't he? Yeah. I love how they have the Botany Bay ship kind of drifting off here. You know, as they're discarding the ship, it just kind of maybe they just turn the ship off, like it just starts to tumble off into space.
Yeah, the worthless vessel as
piece of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Uhura's already passed out.
Yeah, she's got little, smaller lung capacity.
Yeah.
There's no shame
that wussy in the blue shirt and this guy in the red shirt, another guy in the gold shirt. All these guys already passed out, but Spock and Kirk are still holding strong, man. Kirk is given his final commendations for some officers. Lieutenant Spinelli. Why does that name sound familiar?
I think he actually in a bunch of the episodes that Sulu's not on, he's the guy that's actually manning the the helm.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, and I love the way Shatner sells that fall from the chair.
Yeah,
'cause that was actually him.
Yeah.
It wasn't the stuntman. So
which is surprising because it seems like in the fight scenes, he wasn't allowed to do anything.
Yeah, I was gonna point that out when we get to the fight scene. God, the stunt doubles are so obvious in this one.
Which is weird because on last week's episode, the Return of the Archons, we see like Nimoy did almost like a shoulder toss on a guy.
Mm-hmm.
It seems weird like when they chose to use the stunt doubles, and maybe that was the director thing because we had a pretty questionable looking fight in Court Martial, which was also directed by Mark Daniels. So I wonder if it was a director's choice.
Yeah, it's a good question. I wonder.
But either way, that's one of the biggest things you can hold against some of these episodes.
Yeah, well, Uhura did her own stunt there.
Yeah.
Just got manhandled into that chair, and here comes a big, nasty backhand.
Yeah.
That's horrible, man.
It is.
But look at the look she gives him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And MacGyver's is sort of showing some sisterhood.
Yep, she is. And, here's the first glimpse of MacGyver's actually second-guessing her decision here.
Yeah. Now, this is kind of, I don't want to say it's a problem I have with the episode because it's the way the storyline plays out. But it's definitely one of those things where you think about, well, what would have happened if MacGyver's didn't have this change of heart?
Mm-hmm. Kirk would be dead.
Yeah, which kind of bothers me a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they probably could have written it a bunch of other ways, but somehow he has to escape.
Yeah, I mean, you can assume that Spock might have made a move at some point. Also, do you wonder, I guess they had a decompression chamber on the Enterprise for those times they went off planet.
I guess so.
And had a lighter or heavier atmosphere, and they sort of had to readjust.
I guess so. It's strange that it would be all the way in sickbay, though, and not in the transporter room where they could jump right in it. They would probably need to depressurize before changing their atmosphere from a planet onto the ship, because the ship has a certain air pressure.
Yeah. This might be the only time that we actually see a decompression chamber.
Entirely possible.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, it's a great tool for Khan. I mean, it's very effective.
Oh, sure.
And you can totally see why they went with this sort of scenario.
Yeah, I love how defiant the crew is here. to Khan. I mean, they're all willing to die.
Yep, for their captain
For their
and
captain.
their ship. Yeah.
Yep. They're not gonna make it easy for Khan. Like, you know what? If you kill Kirk, you're gonna have to kill us too. I love it.
And here is pretty much one of Khan's only mistakes.
Yep, letting her leave the room.
Yeah.
I mean, he trusts her already. I mean, he thinks he has full power over her, but apparently he does not. And he'll actually make the same mistake in Star Trek 2.
Yeah.
Thinking he has full power over some people, but he does not. And Scotty is here. He was pretty defiant in the beginning. Where's the captain? And
they've lost their feed.
And they've lost the feed. And he's going to try to backhand Uhura again, but Khan's going to stop her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look at, she just doesn't.
Yeah.
She'll just take it, man. She's just not willing to cooperate.
And now we've learned that the captain is most likely dead, and now they're going to march Spock off.
Yeah, the good old villain mistake of not seeing it through. You know, I think that was kind of lampooned in Austin Powers, wasn't it? Where they put them in a ridiculously easily escapable scenario and then don't watch to make sure they died. So great. Here's the other set piece I wanted to talk about. I mean, this decompression chamber is pretty elaborate. I mean, you got this button panel on the wall here with this red light that kind of fills up to indicate the pressure. You know, she presses, and this has got like a double door, one gigantic door with a latch that slides open, and another door, inner door that rolls away, slides away with a kind of a circular half moon there. That's for a set piece that was only going to really be used once. You know, that seems to be a heck of a lot of an investment there, and it's pretty well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty impressive.
I do know that this show went a little over budget this episode.
I can see that. And here is the one and only nerve pinch doing of this episode. Can't use it twice.
Yeah, and it was funny because it seemed like Nimoy had to, or Spock had to apply a little bit extra juice.
You would think, because it's he's a genetic Superman, so it might take a double nerve pinch.
I thought that was neat because you see the closest thing Spock has to like sort of straining.
Yeah. Well, you'd think the only person on the Enterprise who could physically stand up to one of the Supermen would be Spock, and it's questionable how that would go.
Yeah.
You know, what is Khan's physical prowess versus Spock? Because we know Spock is superior to a normal human being.
Yeah.
So I love how Scotty sneaks in that punch before he runs out of the room. Just fucking nails the die right in his face. Yeah. That's great.
I watched an interview with James Doohan recently where he said Scotty was 99% James Doohan and 1% accent.
That's great. That's so great. You know, how cool is it, or weird is it, that the Enterprise has this anesthesia gas system built in?
Yeah, you can pretty much flood the entire ship.
Yeah, very interesting.
I guess it would come in handy if you're like planning a surprise party or something.
Yeah, you want to knock everybody else out, or make sure nobody squealed on your party plans. Oh, Kirk, we should never just run into a room like that. Don't they teach you that? I love how Khan destroys that phaser. Was that like clay?
Yeah,
like a mock-up of a phaser?
Yeah, and you'd think it would have been cool in the remaster if they had added a little bit of sparking or something.
Yeah, that would have been pretty neat because it would be short-circuiting when all the little wires inside were breaking, right? But look at Khan he's just standing in Kirk's way like, you're not going to be able to get past me, man.
Yeah. And basically he's activated he's disabled the ship.
Yes, and he's building up to overload, right? He's going to here's the obvious stunt doubles right there.
Yeah,
obvious.
So it's a 2-on-1 fight here where Kirk and some other guy are fighting Khan.
Yeah, pretty much. You see, there's some axe handles for you, but here's the stunt doubles again, and I have to applaud Shatner for pulling that move off. That was actually him.
That's the thing. I mean, Shatner was clearly, an athletic, guy. I mean, based on, what we saw him do in Charlie X when he was sort of teaching Charlie how to fight, and even in these close-up shots, I guess for the time period and with the fact that TVs were a lot smaller and the broadcasts didn't look, as good as they do now, that they could get away with it. And there's a little bit of hubris on Khan's part.
Oh, big time. He's got a monologue a little there.
Yeah. He basically said there's no way you can beat me before Kirk
Getting
beat
beaten
him.
with some sort of mechanical instrument.
Yeah.
So just in time to save the ship from overload. So
Yeah.
fascinating stuff there. But there were a couple moments there, especially in the few seconds where you're watching them fighting, throwing punches. You could clearly see that was Kirk's stunt double.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't even look like him.
No. He looks more like Pike.
Yeah, he kind of right, exactly. So yet another courtroom type scene here. We've seen this the third time we've seen a courtroom type scene, or fourth time we've seen the courtroom type scene. But Kirk is so charitable in this scene. I mean, Khan just attempted to kill every single person. Was going to kill everybody on the Enterprise. But he's going to let him off the hook. He's going to all the under the authority vested in him by Starfleet Command. He's dropping all the charges.
Yeah.
Ugh, unbelievable.
It's definitely a questionable moment, and it almost seems like Kirk's like, I don't think Starfleet's going to want to even get their hands dirty dealing with this.
Yeah, I wonder.
He's probably thinking of all the paperwork.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe of more of a different type of a play by Kirk. Maybe he's thinking, if we strand these guys on a planet somewhere and just let them do what they want and just let Starfleet know they're there, to watch the place, I think maybe that's a better idea than taking them back to a starbase where maybe they'll be able to take over again.
Yeah.
And cause more trouble. Maybe he's trying to nip this thing in the bud.
Mm-hmm.
And just say, they're not going to give up. They're really tough to kill. And he doesn't want to kill, 72 guys, right? I mean, he's not going to execute every single one of them.
Yeah.
Right. So
now MacGyver's is getting the choice between a court-martial or joining Khan and his people.
Yeah. Well, she knows if she doesn't go with him, then her career is effed. She's pretty much sold herself up the river.
Yeah, there's really no coming back from that.
No. And he's going to take her.
Career-wise, yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty much done. And she's kind of gotten what she wanted through her whole career. She's now got her attachment to the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got Khan and his Supermen from the 90s. Now they can all go listen to Pearl Jam records together. Yeah.
And the interesting thing about this is sort of, Khan seems happy with his quote unquote sentence.
Mm-hmm.
He's being given the opportunity to tame a world, and we do know that 15 years later things turned out differently than he expected. But as it stands, this is kind of a neat little ending for the episode. We get Kirk's explanation of, the Milton quote that Khan alludes to. He'd rather, rule in hell than serve in heaven. And then we get the classic Spock line.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to return in 100 years and see what sprang from the seeds they planted. And knowing that they had no inkling of the movie being made years later, but ending the episode that way is really cool coincidence, I think.
Yeah, it was kind of fortuitous, and Harvey Bennett, who came up with the story for Khan, basically immersed himself in Star Trek when he was sort of tasked with writing the movie, and this episode jumped out at him as being an incredible opportunity to continue the story. So it's kind of neat.
Oh, absolutely! I think the way they ended it, especially the way they ended it with that last comment from Spock, just begged, for a sequel. Either another episode in the series or the movies later on. Maybe they would have come back if this series had continued with a fourth, a fifth, or sixth season. Maybe they would have gone back and had another Khan episode.
I'm surprised they didn't do anything in the animated series.
Yeah, you would have thought, right?
Yeah. So we are going to be doing a special supplemental episode. But before people listen to that, I guess we have to. Even though it's kind of obvious, probably, we have to, I guess, submit our essential votes for this episode, Space Seed.
Yeah, seems almost ridiculous to do it, because I don't think there's any way that any Star Trek fan anywhere would say that this episode is not essential.
Yeah, I mean, it's iconic. It created possibly Star Trek's greatest villain next to the Gorn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it spawned a theatrical feature film 15 years later. So, yeah, I mean, there really is no way that you could call this anything but an essential episode.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, the only regret that I have is that, watching the new JJ Into Darkness movie kind of, and the way they changed Khan around, I really wish they had gone with more of a similar Khan.
Yeah.
As in Space Seed.
Yeah.
I think his ethnicity is really something that makes the character even more mysterious.
Oh, totally.
And respectable, and almost, you can. Anyway, you know what? We'll save it for the extended episode. So instead of belaboring all these points, we'll bring our third party in here. Chris will come in, and we'll start talking about some more of this stuff in depth.
All right, so we will see you hopefully for our supplemental episode, and then also next Sunday when we cover another episode of Star Trek: The Original Series.
All right. Have a good holiday, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
I don't know if you're going to like living in our time.
Then I'll have to remold it to my liking.
Please don't.
Go. Or stay, but do it because it is what you wish to do. Well?
I'll stay a little longer.
How many minutes do you graciously offer?
I only meant...
This grows tiresome. You must now ask to stay.
I'd like to stay. Please.